So, I am going to be doing weekly updates, I guess, or episodes, whatever you want to call them, regarding my depression. Now, it's not something that I talk about all that much, although I am an open book about it. If anyone does ask, I'm happy to talk about it. But I decided that, I don't know, maybe it might be therapeutic or something, or if these videos could help anyone else with depression, then, it can be beneficial, I guess, and maybe either myself or somebody else can benefit from that. So what I'm going to do is this time I'm just going to go into how I was diagnosed with depression. It's bipolar depression, technically, and how that came about. Because it was a very long process. I don't have anyone in my family with mental illness. It's, to be honest, unless I had a broken leg or, broken bones or anything like that, going to a doctor or going to hospital or anything was just not something that I did that much. And even to this day, I don't really bother going to a doctor or a hospital if I can just, if I get a cut or anything, tape it up and it'll heal itself. Job done. So yes, let's jump straight into it. So my depression story starts 10 years ago. Perhaps 11 years ago now, and I was living in Aylesbury, Buckinghamshire. I was sharing a house with my brother, and I just started being a dickhead. I wasn't a very nice person, really. So every day that I would wake up would just be a mission, just to fight, just to get through the day. And so I quit my job. I threw everything I owned into the back of my van, everything that I couldn't carry or didn't deem absolutely necessary. I either gave it away to family and friends or traded at like a trade exchange shop. And that was that. So once I had sort of got all of that out of the way and was ready, I just jumped in my van and drove down to Weymouth, where I decided that would be my new life, my new sort of place to start. Initially, I was living in my van. Living in my van, just got to know some local people. I'm quite an outgoing person, bit of a talker, so it's not really difficult for me to meet people. That's that. I ended up meeting some people, ended up trading for anything that I needed. If I needed a shower, I would just say to somebody, look, do you need a light switch looked at or a socket replacing or anything like that? Just any kind of easy kind of job. I'd just say, I'll do that if I can use your shower or anything. And I got by just doing that for about 6 months. I think it was after about 3 months that I actually started to accumulate a bit of money from my trade, which was an electrician. And so, after 3 months, I actually moved into a bed and breakfast down in Weymouth. And that was like £120 a week or something, because it was out of season. And the guy there and the whole family there were really cool. I really got along with them. So yeah, it was good. So then at that point I was a bit happier, moving into somewhere accommodation and whatnot, and started to kind of live again, started socializing and being normal again, I guess. But then I went downhill again, and I just started drinking heavily. I just again became a dickhead. I was going out looking for fights and whatnot, and just not a decent person at all. So at that point, I again didn't even think that anything was wrong. I just thought I was a dickhead, really. And then I went out one night. I consumed quite a bit of alcohol, and then got in my car and went for a drive. Basically, I went to take a corner because it was all out in the countryside and whatnot. So there was no towns or anything like that I'll sort of go near. Anyway, so I went to take a corner while intoxicated, but it was a bit of a funny corner in that the way the road went straight through this corner, right, like being a T-junction, but it went back on itself. And I had to go like right back on myself. I didn't make the turn because I was surrounded by fields. The road, as soon as it left the road itself was flat, and then as soon as it left the road, it dropped down by about 2 meters, and then went into like a dike, and then fields out further. So the car, when I technically crashed it, it ended up on a pivot point on the road, and the two front wheels were hanging over, and the engine bay was hanging over a cliff edge, so to speak. And it was enough that the back wheels were lifted off the ground, so I was again on a pivot point. I was that intoxicated that I just fell asleep. Dickhead, I know. And then the next thing I knew, I had police at the window, knocked at the window and just said, "What are you doing, dickhead?" And they obviously breathalyzed me, arrested me, went through all that sort of thing. I actually, even after that, I went out like a week later or something in my car, and I was then caught at 125 miles per hour by a speed camera. So I knew at that point, I knew that I had screwed myself over anyway, but I'd completely just screwed myself. Obviously, without, I knew I was going to lose my license, so without a car or van, I wouldn't have been able to work. So I just decided, what the hell am I going to do? So I ended up just driving back to Oxfordshire, where my parents lived. I parked my van up outside the house and knocked on the door. My mother answered. I handed her the car key and just said, "I have no idea what I'm doing anymore. Just don't know." At that point, I went up to one of the spare bedrooms that they had in the house and went to bed and just didn't get up again for about 6 weeks, I think it was. At that point, I started talking to doctors and obviously realised that something wasn't right. So at that point, I started talking to doctors and whatnot. I ended up getting into a program for people that were suffering from depression, even though at the time I didn't believe that was what I had. I just thought I was a dickhead. And so I'm just going to move that so it doesn't go to sleep. And so, I had basically fucked my life up. And so then I had the court dates for the drink driving and the speeding. Obviously lost my license for 18 months, along with a load of other things, probation, fines, and whatever else. which is completely justified. It's not like I resent the courts or anything for doing that. It's, yeah, I absolutely deserved it, and that was fine, really. At that point, I decided that without a license, without any means of making money, that I would not be able to continue living, basically. And so I just booked a flight out to New York, got my visa and everything sorted, and then just went across to America for a while. I don't know exactly how long that was, but there was no point in me being in the UK because I couldn't drive, I couldn't trade, I couldn't work, I couldn't do anything. And so, yeah, I just went across to America. Did quite a bit of traveling out in America. At that point, I still knew something wasn't right. I was enjoying myself to the extent that I was enjoying that as much as anyone would that wasn't working or anything. So, you know, I was enjoying it to that extent. But gradually over time, my happiness with that just kept dropping and dropping and dropping. It got to the point where it got so low that I decided to come back to the UK, even though I was still in my driving ban time. I decided to come back. So yeah, booked my flights back, came back to the UK, and just didn't know what to do once I got back. So again, I just went travelling for a while. I managed to hitchhike from Oxford to South Italy. Yeah, again, I've always been, I don't want to say fearless, but just if something needs to be done, then I'll just get on and do it. And obviously at that time, without having work or anything like that, to me, that was what I needed to do. Just, I may as well use that time to go traveling and do whatever. So yeah, that is what I did. When I got back, again, I realised that. When I was in south of Italy, I realised again that I still wasn't right. So I hitchhiked back to my parents' house again in Oxfordshire. I once again just walked through, knocked on the door. My mother answered again, walked in, and I just said again, I just don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where to go from here. Don't know what to do. Don't know anymore. Again, I ended up going to bed for about 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks at that point. Because the only thing I had energy for at that point would have been to do myself harm. So it was probably better for me just to stay in bed and just say I'm not doing anything, because if I do get the energy to do anything, it's going to be to damage myself. And so again, at that point, I was talking to doctors. At that point, I had to go on to medication. I had to actually go through about 3 or 4 different sets of pills before I found, I believe it's called venlafaxine, that worked for me. I did get quite a few. I got quite a few side effects from other pills that I was given. And like I said, that was about the 4th one that came along, 3rd or 4th one that came along, and I'm on that to this day still. So whilst I was at my parents' place, just doing nothing, at that point I still couldn't drive. My parents decided that they were going to move to Lincolnshire. So we did. I moved with them. We moved to Lincolnshire. And then again, nothing changed. I was still just a muppet, just an idiot. My happiness was still very low. I was aggressive. Just a bit of a dickhead, really. Following that, I can't remember what happened, but I think there was. I think at the time I was doing up a garage of my parents' house. They wanted it changed into a accommodation, so to speak, and so I was doing that because I had nothing else to do. And so there was a particularly tough day. I honestly can't remember what it was that set me off. But again, it got to a point where I knew that if I had any energy to do anything, it would have been that I would have just had energy to do myself harm. That I got into that state of mind again where I was just ready to end it. So after that particularly difficult day, I again just went to bed, and I believe I was in there for about 2 weeks. And then my girlfriend, who I had started seeing, who is my current girlfriend, that I had started seeing having moved to Lincolnshire, she came up and saw me. She works in the NHS, and she just said, "You know what? And now he's got to see like an emergency doctor or something like that." So she spoke to my parents, who sorted that out for me, to speak to this doctor. And within about an hour of speaking to him, he basically said, "Look, you're going into hospital. You're not safe to be on the outside. You can't look after yourself. You can't do anything at the minute." So my laptop stopped working. So I'm back. So yes, I got to the point where I had basically thrown in the towel. I didn't want to be around anymore. And so I was speaking to this doctor, who said that I would have to be institutionalized. I wasn't safe to be out on my own doing what I was doing. And so I got institutionalized. I was there for around, I want to say 6 months. Around that time, I think I was in there for about 6 months. During which time I was speaking to a lot of the other guys that had different ailments. I was on my medication then as well, and I think they upped my medication a bit, obviously stronger doses. They also made sure that I was taking that medication and that I wasn't maybe looking for reasons not to take it or anything. And so I did get better during those 6 months. Not better to the extent where I was cured of depression, but better to the extent where I could live with it, where it was something that I could put to the back of my mind rather than it being right at the front. All I could think about, living, breathing it every day. It was, I could put it to the back of my mind, and just any negative thoughts or anything, I could overpower them, shall we say. So after 6 months of being in that institution, which, by the way, very grateful for, the doctors and everyone there was absolutely perfect, and I'm genuinely grateful for that. Came out after 6 months. At that time, I think my driving ban had expired, so I went out and got a van, started working again, started earning a living again, and progressing. Again, with the pills and everything, was managing it. It was fine for a very, very long time. I'd say at least 2 years. And then I had another bad turn. Didn't need to go into hospital or anything like that. I think it was just a case of I just sat up or laid up in bed for like a week or something. Pulled myself out of it, which again, with the support of my girlfriend and my parents and friends, so grateful for. You're all brilliant. I managed to get back into work and everything again. You know, I was living again. By this time, my girlfriend and I had been seeing each other for a little while. Even though some of that was obviously whilst I was in the hospital, she did come to see me once. I think it was like once a month or something. So, I mean, she stuck by me. So again, I appreciate that. She's brilliant, brilliant woman. So at that point, I moved in with her. We've been living together for a little while now, which pretty much brings us to present day. I have had a couple of quite serious bouts of depression recently, same as what I've had before, where I basically just give up living and I just get myself determined to not be here anymore. But again, it's just, for me, it's just a case of staying in bed, not doing anything, because if I do something, it'll be something negative, potentially life-threatening. And so that's brings us up to present day. I am still on the venlafaxine. Every now and then I still do have down days where I just cannot and won't get out of bed in the morning. My girlfriend has actually learned, she knows when, I mean, I never play on it or anything like that. I'd never use it to my advantage or manipulate it. But my girlfriend has said that she's noticed a difference physically in appearance and whatnot when I am having that kind of episode or that kind of day. This fucking laptop. And so, yeah, that brings us up to present day. Like I said, I have been diagnosed with bipolar depression. I'm on, I think, about 200 milligrams of venlafaxine, which I couldn't live without now. Even if I did try to stop taking it, it does have a very physical impact too. So if I was to stop taking it, even just leave out one pill or something for a day, I would know about it. I'd go lightheaded. I would have negative thoughts and things like that. It's just, I'm dependent on them, basically. And that is in itself, I see that as a weakness. And so it annoys the hell out of me and I hate it. But what choice do I have if I want to continue being here or continue operating? Then I need to take them. So that brings us pretty much to present day. Again, I have had a couple of serious bad bouts. If anyone would want to know specifically about those, I would do those in another video completely separate, because it is very dark content. That it is talking about a person really ending their life. And so I wouldn't want to talk about that with anyone that wasn't prepared for that. So obviously a person watching this has clicked on this video. and knows what to expect. I mean, it's called Depression UNviral Videos. So yeah, it's basically my story of depression and coping with depression. So yeah, that brings us to where I am now, which is I feel like I am surviving, and I'm happy to an extent, but over the past year or so, I've been dropping in motivation for different things. And so, what's this doing? It's lost connection. Back. So yeah, I've been losing motivation. I'm actually at a point now. I did do my property up to the point that it had. I got rid of all the light switches. I had Google Assistant that would control light switches, extractor fans, showers, TVs, everything, because that was my passion in life. Electricity, electrical work, anything technical. That was my bread, not only my bread and butter, but my my passion. I loved dealing with that kind of stuff, and I loved working with that. Yeah, over the past year or so, that has dropped off significantly due to just getting fed up with updates and technology that fails after a while. Among other things, I mean, again, I'm not going to go too much into detail on any specifics in this video, but feel free to message me or something if there's anything you would like to know anything further about specifically. But yeah, so I've now gotten to the point where I can't be an electrician anymore because I'm just not interested in it. Even I recently got fibre into the property. Had to change the hub, obviously, for the fibre. And at that point, it got to the point where, or it's still at the point, where I just couldn't be bothered to reset up all the lights and everything on the new Wi-Fi and all the extractor fans and all the sockets and everything else. Couldn't be bothered to do it. And so at that point, what I did is I just put the light switches back on the wall and just said to everyone in my house, just use the light switches, fuck off the Wi-Fi enabled stuff, just use it as you would a usual light. And that's where I'm at. So that brings us to this exact point where, although I have a trade, although I have vehicle, although I have everything else, I still feel that I can't go out and be an electrician because my lack of interest in the electrical work that I have now, it did affect my work. Nothing dangerous, really. Just to a point where I just wasn't concentrating on the work. I wasn't. I just didn't have any interest in it, and so I've had to stop. I'm not an electrician anymore. So that brings us to where we are now. Me trying at the moment to be a YouTube content creator. And so I have started making the UNviral videos, content, I guess. And that is, again, very therapeutic for me, much the same as this right now, I guess. Yeah, so that's pretty much, that started about 10 years ago, from acting out, losing driving license, losing everything really, and then going traveling and blah, 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 all of that. That was 10 years ago, and that brings us to now, where I have progressed in the state of my depression, but some would argue, I guess, I've dropped backwards in the sense that I'm not working as an electrician anymore. Um, Interpret that however you want to. Again, if you want to ask me any questions in the comment section or anything like that, feel free to. I don't know what to say really at this point. That's just how my depression began and how I've been maintaining it and how it's been affecting me up till now. If there's anything specific you'd like to know, feel free to send me a message or leave a comment in the comment section. I expect I'll be doing another video this Saturday, just as a general kind of update on the week, how the depression's been affecting me for that week, if there's been any changes with anything, I guess. I don't know. Again, I don't really know what I want to do with these videos. I don't know if they're for me or for anyone else, or I don't know how they're going to be seen. So take it as you will. And if you have benefited anything from this video, then thank you, I guess. And if there's anything you want to know, just ask. But that is my story of how I was affected and how it continues to affect my life with bipolar depression. Yeah, okay.